Howdy y'all, I am Ice Gold, and today I'm going to be doing the third installment of this series that I've done just on this channel, and that's going to be the best max level damage setup. And for this time around, we're going to be starting, like always, with Fire. And Fire is an interesting school because it's got really good stats in terms of offense, and you will see shortly what's going on with that. So let's, I guess, just dive straight into things. Since the last time I, made an installment in this series, the damage cap has been, I guess, fixed to 237, and you can technically hit this if you're using a specific piece that I am not using. I just, don't want to sit and raid and fight mobs with my dick in my hand for 3 hours a bunch of times. But you get the picture. 237 is the max damage that you can get with diminishing returns starting after that, and they curve very sharply. I think somebody has done the calculation on that, where it's like to get to 238 you need a lot more than 238 damage. So yeah, 237 is the max damage, and you can obviously, like, I could get that right now, but it would just be like way over. And the resist is okay, 37, it's not bad, because obviously you're not running a resist pet if you're running the damage setup. And then I've got a little extra to ice because that's my shield pin. I could really do with myth, but I don't have a myth shield pin, so it's what it is. I'll probably be farming crash again to get my death gear, but well over perfect accuracy, so that's good. And then pretty good crit. The multiplier I've noticed is it's decent, but it's not like totally insane like what it used to be in like 2019 and 2020, when you used to be able to have 100% crit builds. Long live those days, rest in peace. But this is the piece de resistance, 54 pierce, and this it's like I was saying, I could go to 237 damage, but I would have to give up a pierce jewel for that, and if I did that I would go down to 48 pierce. And 54 pierce, tower shields mean nothing to you anymore if you have 50 pierce, obviously. So just going past that, 54 pierce, it's real helpful, and it can help you pierce bosses resist, which is always very helpful. So 54 pierce, very strong. And then I also just have a bunch of myth pins. I could go to 42 myth pierce if I had that extra 170 pin. I think I do actually have one, I just can't find it. But yep. And then perfect pips, this is very important because the robe, as I will get to in a little bit, is very important for this. If you use the Reaver robe or Eon robe or whatever you're rocking with, you will not actually get 100 pips, you will get 99, and you'll have to figure that out some other way. So 100% pips with what I've got, it's always pretty good. P-serve is sort of whatever. You're not really playing for that much anyway. And then decent shads, actually. You'll see what's up with that in a bit. And then pretty decent archmastery as well. So that is pretty neat. But let's go over the pieces. That is what y'all are here for after all. So for the hat, I have the Fervid Dream Reaver hood, and kind of just standard. It's a Reaver piece. Can't really go wrong with that. I gain like 1 damage and maybe 1 pierce and 1 resist over the Eon hat, so it's really no sweat if you don't have this. But yeah, definitely the play, I would say. It just gives the most damage out of any hat that Fire's ever gotten, like more than Burrower, obviously, more than Dragoon, more than Stalker for L, and then yeah, it's the Reaver hat is just the best in slot. So 36 damage, pretty solid. For the robe, this is where you're going to see a constant for this series. I do not actually have any of the demonic robes from the Polaris raid, like I was talking about. I don't want to sit with my dick in my hand for 3 whole hours just fighting mobs and doing pretty much nothing, because that's all the Polaris raid really is. And I don't even know if Fire gains damage from this. I think maybe in Test Realm I found out Fire doesn't. But I could be wrong there, but I don't think Fire actually gets a 31 damage robe. So if you have the Nullity robe, then that suffices just as well. I'm not sure what you gain with Demonic, maybe a little bit of health, maybe a bit of resist. But I don't think you gain any other stats, maybe Pierce, but 54 Pierce is already pretty good. And you also get some Shad rating from this, which is kind of nice if you play the way that I do. So Nullity robe, pretty, it's like technically not the best in slot. It's second best in slot, but it's close enough. And like, you know, you still have the damage, the same damage if you have demonic. So, you know, fire over the nullity. That's what you rock. And then for the boots, obviously Dream Reaver. I don't know if I put away my Eon boots, but I've had these Reaver boots for quite a bit, and they are very, very good. You know, 43 fire damage, hard to argue with that, and I mean, just all those other stats. It's just really, really, really good. You kind of just love to see it. Kind of self-explanatory. Reaver piece is what it is there. For the wand, I've actually got both options for level 170, but I personally like the Xibalba Meteoric Sword better. And one thing that I didn't actually realize until much later was that the Reaver wand does not actually give any Universal Pierce. It gives 11 Fire Pierce. And so actually, looking at it, the Xibalba wand gives 1 more Pierce than the Fire Reaver wand. So the Xibalba wand is just marginally better. So I would definitely recommend the Xibalba wand over Reaver if you can get that. The equivalent here being the Faeriequeens wand for fire. And, you know, you can get that. 12 Pierce, 30 damage, 19 shads. Kind of good with it. And the shads are really good too, because I'll go over the deck in a little bit as well. But, yeah. Just a good choice. You gain Pierce here. I don't know how that's going to stack up with the other schools. I don't really have that many Reaver wands to my name, but Xibalba is what I personally recommend for everybody, just because of that. So, yep. The Reaver Fame. This one is an obvious choice. There's not really another Fame out there that gives 25 whole damage, as well as the square slot, which is really, really helpful. There is actually a setup that you could technically make if you were to use the Xibalba boots for the exact same piercing damage, but you give up a lot of pip chance, and then you can use triangle socket here, but square socket is just what I prefer. So, square socket here. Definitely Reaver Knife is the play there. For the amulet, it can be anything with a circle. You know, you can use the Hun Hao amulet, you can use the Reaver amulet like I'm obviously doing, and Faeriequeens as well, Xibalba, and just anything with a circle really, and that'll do you a lot of good. That's an extra 10 damage on the jewel, and I've got 2 of these unearthly damage rubies socketed, so that's pretty neat. This is also where you get a lot of accuracy from, but you don't technically need a 16. So if you have like an 11 sitting around, or even as low as an 8, you can use that and be totally fine. But I also like the Reaver amulet because it gives a 40 blade, which is really, really useful. So would recommend that. For the ring, that's going to be the Reaver ring, and I should really talk about where all these drop. So this drops from Malice in the Nightmare Dungeon, or you know, you can craft it if you have another wizard with Malice Rexus. So it's a grind, but worth it in the end, I would say. This does as well, and then so does this, and then this drops from the Crying Sky raid. So just keep that in mind. The Nullity Robe drops from the Voracious Void raid, that's the Dragonspire raid, and the Demonic Robe that I was talking about before drops from the Polaris raid. So raid robes are sort of the way to go in the current meta these days. There's also something to be said about the Fiery Nightmare coat and its upgrade, I forgot what it's called, but it's the Forbidden Library robe for fire, and I think you gain maybe 1 damage here on top of the Nightmare coat. So, you know, if that's just what you're on about, you lose a bit of shads and a little bit of damage and pierce, but you know, you gain some resist, some health, some pip chance. Overall, the Forbidden Library robe is just very, very good. It's a very good alternative, but it's not as good as Nullity or Demonic. And then this drops from the Invader Fleets and the Doom Moon and Novus, and then this drops from Crash the Bandicoot out in the Wallagang territory. That's a side quest boss. Hun Hao, obviously, Crying Sky raid, you know, and that type of deal. And then the ring, this drops from Freddy Croker in the Dreaming. This is just the best in slot, without question. I mean, 17 damage on a fire ring in 2024. It's like, fire got kind of shafted for a little while in terms of damage on the rings. That was kind of how the devs decided to retroactively put fire in check after they gave fire so much damage with Dragoon, but, you know, 17 damage on a ring, still pretty good. You could technically run the executive ring from all the way back in Caramel for an extra 2 damage, but you would lose all that pip chance and you would not be able to make it up here. So, yeah, I would definitely recommend Reaver Ring. And then for the pet, Obviously a quint damage with Mighty or Thinking Cap. I just use the Kookaburra just because, you know, it's if you have a Frillosaur, and this is all going to be free to play, by the way. So if you do have a Frillosaur, then you can push like, you know, 238, maybe 239 damage, depending if you have the mount. But I do not have the mount, and you know, neither do probably some of you. So Frillosaur with the corresponding Bronto is the best, but you need to open a bunch of packs for the mount. So yeah, for now, this is what you do. Just get a quint damage fire pet with Thinking Cap and Mighty. Pretty good. I've had this one forever. And then for the mount, like I was saying, you know, if you have the Frillosaur, you can use the Bronto mount. But if you do not have the Frillosaur, the best mount that you can get for free is the Battle Narwhal. You can fish this up from the Polarian Explorers Bundle House. Yeah, I can speak English. And it'll take you a while to get this, but 2 damage, you know, it's 2 damage. I wouldn't really sweat it if you don't have this, but this does get you closer to that magic number 237. For the deck, I'm personally using Reaver. You know, you can use anything with a circle slot, like, you know, the Chrysanthemum deck that drops from Takanobu the Masterless. There's also an equivalent that drops from Lambent Fire. So it just gives... It doesn't give health, but it does give all these extra other cool stats. So, pretty neat. Also, the Dark Surge is kind of cool, so... Make of this what you want. You can use that or even the Hunhao deck, but, you know, again, Crying Sky Red. So, yeah, I'm using the Reaver deck personally. So, that's where we're at on that. And that is going to wrap up. That is every single piece. So, yeah, that is the fire setup. You know, 236 damage. You can technically go higher if you know, give up a little bit of Pierce. And then 54 Pierce. So, overall, very, very good, especially with max pips and pretty decent shads. And then this is the deck setup that I use just for regular PvE. I like putting Raging Bull in because with how shads work in Wallaru, sometimes you can just get a shad, like on turn 2. And then on turn 2, you know, like you can use a Raging Bull. And, you know, I don't have Frenzy trained, but, you know, that's why we have this 40 Blade from the amulet. So, 40 Blade into a Raging Bull, like that is a lot for only 2 rounds. So, pretty good. And then obviously the robe and wand here help that a lot, but it's all up to y'all if y'all want to do something different. So thank y'all for watching. I've been Ice Gold. Be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a 50 comments for the algorithm. My Discord is down in the description if you want to chat with me some more, and I'll see y'all later.